Columbia continues to get ready to return to classes this fall. We are joined now by Columbia Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Peter Stiepelman to talk about how they are preparing for a safe return. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Stiepelman.
Good morning to you.
And then, so basically next Monday is the deadline for parents to decide whether or not their kids will be doing in-person or out-of-person classes. I know we talked last time about the advice you have for parents about that. Is there any different advice you have now, especially with the mask orders going on?
No, I think what we've tried to do as a public school system is really respond to what the public asked. And so in May, we launched something called a thought exchange, and we're able to get feedback from families that more than anything, they want children to be able to return to school. And every organization and agency out there has indicated that that is the best thing that schools should be thinking about and communities should be thinking about, not only for children and their mental health and their social interactions and their learning, but also because it's one key part of an economy coming back, particularly for a community like Columbia. When you have 19,000 children, when they have a safe place to go and learn, that's an excellent thing. But we also heard that some families were not ready to come back. You just announced a number of really startling and unsettling statistics in terms of nationwide, and particularly here locally, we're starting to see an increase in cases of COVID. And so some families may say, you know what, I'm not ready yet. Without a vaccine, without an antibody test, without with social distancing still being a challenge for many, then I'm not ready to send my child back. And for that, we wanted to make sure there was a viable option also. So families have until Monday to choose whether or not they would like to go fully online or if they'd like to come in person. And we look forward to either decision they make and be ready to respond.
And I know the situation right now is very fluid and it changes pretty much every day. As you said, we are experiencing some more cases in our state and locally. If parents change their minds in the future after that Monday deadline, is that okay? How will you guys work with them?
Yeah, so my suggestion then would be that a family would choose in person. It's easier for us to go from in person to online. So what we have said, we have a really great website set up. So if you go to our Columbia Public School website, which is cpsk12.org, and then if you go /fall 2020, or you can just find it on our homepage. There's all the information there. There are frequently asked questions. There's also about a 35-page plan for those who really want more details. But what I would suggest is that you would go in person, and then it's easy for us to switch someone to online. It's not as easy for us to be able to go from online back into person. And so when a family chooses online, we ask that they choose that for the semester, and we're going to ask to hold them to that. And I'm a parent of 3 children in the public schools. I have one that's probably going to go online and 2 that are going to go in person. So I'll get to experience this from each perspective.
And can you talk a bit about that mask policy that Columbia Public Schools has in place for this year?
Yeah, I think it's important to maybe think about it from sort of a leveled system. So a level 1 would be no mask required. A level 2 could be you may wear a mask. A level 3 is sort of where we were when we released our plan last week, which was we strongly encourage you to wear a mask. In talking with experts, epidemiologists here in town, virologists here in town, talking with our local health department, and then listening to parents over a 2.5-hour webinar last weekend, it really became very clear for us, and my own personal thoughts on this is that we should be wearing masks. And so we strengthened our language to say we expect you to wear a mask in the fall. A level 5 would be anything that the state, local authorities, or even the federal authorities would regulate. And so, as you just mentioned, we'll be looking forward to hearing what the City Council decides on Monday, and then making some more decisions about what that will look like in about a month and a half for when schools return. So, you know, we still have a little bit of time before we come back in August.
And then will you be providing the masks as a school district? How will that kind of work?
Yeah, so we're still working through that. We had our incident command meeting yesterday. We've already planned to make sure that all of our employees will have 2 masks provided by the school district. We also have decided that we're going to make sure that all of our teachers and those who work closely with students have facial shields as well, because as we heard from our teachers, particularly in the early grades, children need to see their faces and their mouths when they're teaching reading. And so we wanted to make sure that we had those options available as well. For children who are hearing impaired, we are looking into buying masks that are clear so that children who are reading each other's lips can see those lips. We had already made the decision that we would be providing our hearing impaired teachers, those who teach in our hearing impaired classroom, with those clear masks as well, so that children who are also reading lips can see them. So we have a lot of things to think about as we return. Charis Church, led by Amy and Kevin Larson, and others in their church community, reached out and have already mobilized to try to rally the faith-based community as well as our community at large to help us make masks for children for when they do return, so that we can make sure that if a child arrives without a mask, that we can provide one for him, her, or them.
So yesterday, the contract for school resource officers officially ended. Do you know, will there be any security measures in place to make up for that?
Yeah, the SRO program really has been an important part of the public schools and our relationship with the Columbia Police Department for more than 20 years. School resource officers play an important role of their relationship building with kids and staff. And, we had, obviously, as you just said, that the contract ended yesterday. That was a contract that was negotiated this past fall with both the city and the school district. Fully negotiated. We agreed to pay more money for cops than we had in the past. And so we were a little surprised. But here's the thing. The city, I know, is in a tough spot. Revenues are down, and they are trying to make some decisions about how they expand their community outreach unit. And so they plan to expand that, and I hope that goes well. We had fully executed our budget in June that included the monies that we would have paid for our school resource officer relationship. And so now we're meeting with principals, and we will reach out to community members, and we will try to figure out what that will look like for the fall, because there's an expectation that our children are safe in school. We do a great job in terms of our own personnel, and we know that it takes additional folks to make sure that kids are safe. So in the coming weeks, we'll be formulating a plan, working with our school board to do that, and we'll have better information.
Awesome. And do you plan to take another look at that contract with the city of Columbia in the future?
Well, I would say that it was not our expectation that the contract would end. We asked the city for an opportunity to sit down and talk about it on June 10th. We didn't hear back, and then we learned that it was being cut. So, or at least it was being proposed to be cut, because the city's budget, it runs October, and ours runs from July 1 until June 30th. And so I know that the community has an opportunity to give the city council additional feedback, but at this point, we're going to have to move forward. And so we are always open to conversations about how to include and have the police department be a great partner with us, because they're fantastic partners with the public schools.
Good to know. And then I know for teachers going into schools, that might be a little bit different for them too. Will there be an extra burden on teachers to ensure the safety of students, and how would you suggest give them advice in this situation?
I don't think I would see it in that same way. Our school resource officers are right now only at the 3 comprehensive high schools, and then there was 1 supporting middle schools. And so what we'll be looking at is how to support our schools in that sense. Teachers do an amazing job in terms of providing good school support for children and in that sense. But in terms of school resource officers, I think that they're 2 separate conversations.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Siepelman, for being with us this morning. We do really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right. Have a good day.